these are the weapons that will significantly impact the metagame. So now that we've talked about all of those, let's move on to the next one. So I've been sick, as some of you probably know, and so I've been in my own little world in space and time, not looking at a lot of other things, and the season snuck up on me. I was planning on making first impressions videos for every one of the new kits, and now there's 6 of them I still haven't made, but they're already out, and I've bought them all, so I figure before I actually get my hands on them and try them out, I want to file my predictions away for how viable I think all of them are going to be, and then we'll get them and we'll see how right I was. A lot of the time I'm pretty wrong. It's kind of funny to go back and look at some of these old ones, but I just want to get my guesses out there, because I know a lot of people have been doing that in the meantime, and it should be at least a fun little exercise here. So this is my list right here. As you can see, these are the weapons that will significantly impact the metagame. So now that we've talked about all of those, let's move on to the next one. We'll probably see some use by people already playing the same main weapon. I think this is about as strong as the weapons get in Fresh Season. To start with the leader, I think that this kit might be slightly better than the vanilla kit. I think the sub-weapon of Ink Mine is a little bit better for the E-Leader, because the E-Leader is already a beacon, and it doesn't need any extra downtime running around to place the beacons. But the Kraken is a huge deal, because Kraken is a really powerful tool, especially in Clan Blitz right now. If there's really any reason that you want to put a Kraken in, now you have this option, which is going to be fairly reliable for getting that Kraken and keeping it. Keeping it is especially the important part. Whenever you're ready to pull the trigger on a Kraken cheese play, the 96 is a weapon that fights far enough forward that maybe sometimes it gets rushed down, but if your E-Leader is going down early, they're probably screwing something up. So there's probably a way for them to get that Kraken into play absolutely every time that you need one. So I think that could be really valuable for it. It's also a potential panic option in case the E-Leader is getting rushed. Again, you probably anticipate that even just with normal positioning, the E-Leader gets away from that, but it's kind of nice to have, given that you've lost the Ink Mine, and that the Ink Mine sometimes was either an early warning system or a way for the E-Leader to tack on a little bit of damage so that it could tap shot someone down or get them with a partial charge or something. The new Nautilus kit is a Nautilus with a bomb, and that by itself, you can't put it too low, because Nautilus is an absolutely crazy main weapon, and now that it has a bomb that it can poke with, that's a really massive tool for it. Now, the splashdown, it's not it. It's really not it. It's not what this weapon wanted at all. And in the vanilla kit's defense, point sensor is actually pretty good right now, because point sensor synergizes really well with Trizuka, which is on several of the weapons that are being played the absolute most right now, the splatter shot and the squeezer. So with those being so powerful and the Nautilus synergizing so well with those, it's got something good going for it there, and that is actually something that you might decide to run it for. But even so, I imagine that a Nautilus player is probably going to look at the map mode and decide based on that, or based on what the team needs, which of the two kits to take, not based on either kit's overall viability. I think it's going to be roughly even, or at least there are going to be some use cases where you want this one over previous. Hey, cat, get off there. The next tier down, I am anticipating by default that we don't see a lot of this in competitive play at all. But all of these weapons in this tier, I think, have the potential to surprise me. If one of these does end up being really strong, these ones, I'm okay, I don't feel like that caught me too off guard. So we'll start with the 52. I've said before that I think that the 52 kit that we currently have is fine, that we're still seeing plenty of use for it, given its tenure across the game. It's been in for a really long time, and it hasn't been bad for, I think, any of that time. Right now, we're not seeing a ton of it, but that doesn't mean that it's bad. It's like right up there. It's close. So we haven't really needed another kit. And this one, I mean, it can move a little faster because it's got the curling bomb, and that might be worth something. But screen right now is not super high value. I think there's a lot of dispute about how strong screen is exactly, because there are a lot of weird factors that we haven't dealt with in this special before. The fact that it blocks your visibility of your team as well as theirs. Like in my video yesterday, I got a splat because I threw a Booyah Bomb into somebody else's screen, and they didn't see the Booyah Bomb coming, so they didn't move, and I got a splat from that. That's the sort of thing that can happen. Like, it works both ways, and so there's a lot of new understanding of the game that we have to develop to really understand how to play around this special when it's on our team, and not a lot of that is happening because of the accessibility issues with it. Like, screen is in a place where you're able to use it a lot of the time, but the fact that someone could just opt out of it and that you have to have a plan B makes it so that it's not going to be like the most reliable part of a team comp. And I think that that's discouraged a lot of people from really trying to lab this thing out and figure out how it's best used to support your team. We haven't seen a lot of that. Now, this weapon would be a really good farmer of it. If screen ever becomes so strong that you really, really need someone to be able to spam them out there, this might be your option. It is a lot better painting than, say, the foil squeezer. Problem is, the foil squeezer is otherwise just like a better weapon in every way. It's got way longer range and a lot more control. It's actually got like a lethal bomb you can poke with and like harass people's positions with. Curling bomb's much less reliable for that. So this is probably not going to see a ton of use. Like, where people are still probably going to prefer the foil squeezer for it. But there are niches here and there where I could see it actually having a reason to be used. So I'm putting it up there. New Squiffer. What I'm seeing the most, the general community meme has been that this weapon is going to be really fun and going to be a trick shot machine, but that it's not actually going to be that strong competitively. I think that Squeezer in general is a little bit underrated. I think that there just aren't that many people who are pushing it at an absolute top level, and so we don't see quite as much of it. But I do think that this has the potential to be a solid, like, one-trick kind of idea for someone to have, and that you could build a top-level team comp around. Would you want to? Basically just because you want to play with that one-trick player, I would think. But I think you could. And so this one, like, I think it's better than the vanilla Squiffer kit, and I could see this bumping up to seeing some use at top level occasionally. The Glugas. These have significant potential for a glow up, not necessarily because of the kit so much as the buffs that the main weapon got. It is a Gluga that has Trizuka now, but that would compete with Squeezer, and Squeezer's just kind of the better main weapon. So I don't think that this particular kit is actually going to be super strong. It is nice that it comes with a point sensor, which kind of helps it land its own Zukas. Same kind of niche that the machine has in being able to do that. But the Neo machine has AoE damage and this one doesn't. And if you're looking for like the longer weapon range, then you probably just pick the Squeezer. This just feels like there are too many other weapons trying to do relatively similar things. And while the weapon itself won't be that bad, I think that there are going to be other choices that you want to go for instead. The vanilla Glugas are actually the ones that I'm really interested in seeing on this new patch, because now that they've got that buff, they might have a bit more potential competitively than they did before. It addressed something that they really did need, which was their paint output. So with, having better paint output and being more reliable at getting Booyah Bombs, with having a kit that's relatively synergistic, that, you know, it's the K-Gal kit from Splatoon 2 that was really strong, that could have a bit of a glow up, and I'm going to be keeping an eye on that. But I'm not so sure about the Trizuka kit. I think that unless you have a Glooga's one trick who is going to be your best option to have Zuka on the team, you probably just run the vanilla kit on the Gloogas instead. Flingza. This is another one where, again, if Screen becomes meta, like, this is one of the weapons we could see. I have no indication on my radar that that's happening. And so otherwise, it's just kind of a Flingza roller, which, again, I really think this main weapon's insane. And that just, it keeps on getting, like, edged out for its niche by, like, a bunch of other weapons. So I could see this kind of popping off, especially now that it's got a lethal bomb. But my hunch is that, again, Splatter Color Screen is not going to do enough for it, and that people aren't going to really want to run it because they don't really want the screen that badly, and you'd really want the screen in particular to be able to run this. The Rebrella, from what I have heard, it's going to be a really strong, like, shot that it has, but the Brella shield is, like, even flimsier than, like, the undercover Brella. That it's, like, I think 100 damage that it can take before it shreds. That's nothing. Like, that's 3 shots of a splatter shot. That's just barely a thing at all. You're getting more out of the visual cover, out of it, like, blocking their view, than you are actual protection there a lot of the time. This isn't the kind of thing that's really going to reliably stop that much of a pencil's shots. Like, it can just shred the shield in 2 shots and then keep firing at the Brella and still get it down on 1 charge. So it's not going to be, like, super defensive with it. It's only going to really be able to poke. It's not going to be able to really enforce its range until it gets the big bubbler. And I think the one niche it might potentially have is the fact that it can move a big bubbler forward into the enemy team better than pretty much any weapon in the game right now. And the main weapon, like, that fires does genuinely seem like a pretty strong fighting weapon, especially if the spread of the shots isn't too bad. So the main weapon's going to have to carry it a bit, but if it's capable of skirmishing and fighting pretty well, I could see this being a niche use case for Big Bubbler, if you really want one of those. Now we're getting down into, I really don't anticipate this seeing a lot of competitive use. I think the Dowser Dualies are looking really underwhelming right now. Like, in a video game where there is a Squeezer that has a Trizuka, I don't understand why you ever pick this weapon. Nobody's really looking for Killer Whale that much. It's not like a total kit killer, but it's definitely not a priority at all. And I don't understand why they gave this thing Ink Mine. I just think there's no synergy with Ink Mine whatsoever. It's not going to be so worried about, like, flanks coming up on it like an ultra long range backliner will. It would really like to have something that pokes a little bit more from range. You know, even if it's got, like, squeezer range or something, like, even a squeezer loves to have a bomb. It's nice to be able to get through a splash wall or something like that, or to do object damage to the Rainmaker shield. Ink Mine's just never going to give you that. So I don't know what they were thinking giving it that. And the main weapon is so weird. I haven't been able to touch it yet, so maybe, you know, people who've been playing with it think differently. But the fact that you only get 1 dodge roll is crazy. Like, even 2 dodge rolls is really restrictive on a weapon. 2 dodge rolls means that you're committed really fast in an engagement, and a lot of people are just going to kind of track you through those rolls and wait until your rolls are done and then be able to splat you. Only 1 dodge roll? That's just really bad. That's just like every time you want that fire mode, you have to stand still. That's gross. Now, the long-ranged main part of the main weapon, according to the data miners, it looks like it's about, like, squeezer range. So that's still not going to be like a strong enough weapon to contest the Squeezer in a fight, because the Squeezer will have like more concentrated fire at that range, and also will have a wall blocking shots. So it's still not going to fight a Squeezer super well, but that is pretty good painting range, and that is like a good ability to kind of poke at someone, especially if the hitboxes are pretty big when it fires forward. The short range, rapid fire stuff, I mean, I guess that's fine, but again, you only have one dodge roll. I don't see a reason that you want that main weapon. I don't see a reason you want it with that sub weapon, and I don't see a reason why you really need that special weapon. I think this kit's kind of a bust. Put it, give it a better kit. We'll see. Let me at the main weapon, and maybe I'll be convinced otherwise. But that's where I see it for now. And I'm gonna put this out there, and then I'm immediately gonna go and start messing with the weapons, and maybe I'm gonna feel like I want to eat my words, but that'll have to wait for tomorrow, because this is gonna be my predictions. These two predictions, though, I don't think are particularly controversial. The Dreadringer, the current kit we have is just better, I think. It's got a zone cheese niche. It has a lethal bomb. I don't know why you want beacons on this thing, or even in the metagame in particular. And Wavebreaker is one of the most underwhelming specials in the game right now. It's just a mess. Wavebreaker can kind of combo with it a little bit, I guess, and maybe that's something you're playing for. But at this point in the game, like, people are jumping over Wavebreaker waves, and they're shredding them pretty quickly too. It's not having that much of an impact on the game at the moment. I think it needs more of a buff than just marking some players. I think there's something more that's got to be done for it in order to make it feel like it has more of a place. And then they gave an Explo splashdown. Why? That is an aggressive special. If someone is getting that close to you on the Explo, you have made a mistake in your positioning already. It's not what you're looking for. You're looking for something that can hit from longer range. You're looking for something that fits its supportive niche, maybe something that can combo with it. This was not the kit for the Explo. The Splash Wall isn't terrible. There are definitely worse things you could give it. There may be some cases where it enables you to like avoid some charger shots or something while you make your escape, but it's a really clumsy, poor kit. I don't think you're going to see use of this over the other kit at all. Definitely the biggest stinker of the patch, if I have to guess now, which I do, because I am not letting myself see all of the other weapons yet. So, all right, that's been enough that I've said. I'm going to go and see what I'm wrong about now.